push our candidates forward. So therefore, I need to make room for these ears to tune in to what is the most impactful message from this group that came as our guests, and I want to honor them and introduce whoever it is, either you or you, sir, to have you be in charge instead of me, but I'm just here as a facilitator for the first time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay. My name is Hassan Nawaz. I'm an old Palestinian activist. I have been doing that since I was 12, so don't worry about it. I'm still around. Okay.
So,
I'll take that, yes.
You serious?
Yes, yes. Welcome, everyone. My name is Clyde Shabazz. I'm with the Michigan Green Party. Been a Green Party member since 2008, and it's so awesome and wonderful to be here to share this time and experience with you today. We're here today for a very, very important purpose, and that is to push the issue of humanity for all of us, black, white, Arab, and we have what we think is an outline or a basis to bring us closer to a better humanity amongst all of ourselves, and that's part of the reason why we're gathering here today, okay? So first, I want to officially welcome you on behalf of the Green Party of Michigan and nationally to this Jill Stein fundraiser, okay? Give yourselves a hand. Now, why the Green Party, okay? The Green Party is the most progressive party that we think that will help to bring about a better America. You young people listening back there on your computer, you can check us out too, by the way. Okay? It's very important to the cause, okay? So, but anyway, we have a lot of values that we believe that young people like yourselves will share with us, okay? And I have some flyers. I myself, my name is Clyde Shabazz. I'm a candidate for Congress myself. I'm running in the federal election against Debbie Dingell, a longtime congresswoman, who's been in Congress doing the wrong policy on behalf of Democrats. So, my relationship to Jill goes back to her and her then vice presidential candidate, John Baraka. Very progressive people. We share the same family values of humanity. In a nutshell, I don't need to say much more than that. We love Jill. I have pictures on my phone I can share with you about. She's an awesome person. She's the right person at this time for this job of running for president and leading the party. Okay? So we're here today from the local and the national to talk about that. So we also want to reach out to the Arab American community to see if some of you folks would be interested in running yourselves. We need some candidates. We have our nominating convention for the Michigan Greens from June 1st through the 15th. So if you know some young people in your family, it doesn't make a difference. If you have a progressive heart and you want to do the right thing on the Palestinian question, join us and run. As a candidate, we need you. I've had the same conversation with the white community, with the black community, and the Green Party is the party that we know is going to be the party of the future for us as human beings, okay? And we are really moved by the issues going on in Palestine. My last name is Shabazz, and I feel very proud of that as relates to, many of you have heard of Malcolm X. His last name is right? Thank you. In the 1960s, he actually visited Palestine. I don't know if many of you know that. Malcolm X visited Palestine. He was way ahead of this question even then about a Palestinian state and justice for Palestine. So we're asking you, I know a lot of you are kind of like, well, where could I put my support? I could be on the sidelines, what have you, but you also get in the game with us, okay? Put your feet to the fire and represent the community and join the Green Party. Represent your community. That's what we're here today too. I'd like to see at least 2 or 3 of you today sign up and join the Greens and actually run and consider running for office. Challenge somebody as one of these Democrats or Republicans who represents your district. We would love that. Is that right, Jim? That's what it's about. Okay. Yes, sir. Got one right here? Okay, great. Very good. Very good. So we got one. I feel like one of those gospel preachers right now. Ask everybody to come out. That's right. All right. That's what it's going to take. We want you to represent the community in your issue. Make the Palestinian cause your primary issue. You'll find that a lot of these issues are not being addressed because we don't have people like yourselves standing up to represent them. Our representation is not our real representation, okay? So like, for example, I myself, I'm running on the platform of something called UBI. It's called Universal Basic Income. It's a concept to where anybody making under $40,000 a year or less, you would automatically get an additional $1,000 a month check to help you with your expenses. That would work as opposed to giving a few billionaires who actually fund both parties all of those billionaire tax breaks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. So things like that is where you and I, Dr. Stein, is where we begin to make a difference locally and nationally. And that's why we're reaching out here to you today. Okay? Very good. Welcome aboard, brother. This is man of hand. Here's the camera. Okay? And then finally, again, our convention is June 1st. June 15th. And it's going to be at the Universalist Church in Lansing, Michigan. And it's going to be virtual through Zoom. Can you write that down, anybody? Or we'll make sure you get that information. So we want you to attend the Green Party Convention June 15th on Zoom, okay? And let all of your community know. Will it be strictly?
It will be.
It's a hybrid.
It will be,
It'll be
the link in WhatsApp, right?
Okay.
Yes, the link. I'll let him. This gentleman can answer that question.
How many days? One. So, what?
It's a Saturday only?
It's a Saturday only.
But the question was.
June 1st, our applications to be a candidate. Please have your application to be a candidate in, okay? That way they can send back the questionnaire that you fill out so that they can prepare the package for the state convention so that everybody has a way to look at all the information on the candidates. Then, I'm sorry, my name is Stephen Boyle.
Yes.
I'm a former candidate and I'm looking to be your candidate for the 13th district. But it's important that we have people join the Green Party. And the first link at migreenparty.org is join. So you just follow that link, fill in your information, and join the party, okay? Because you have to join the party in order to have a vote at the convention, okay? That's a requirement. Now, and candidates should be Green Party members. So, and honestly, the first time I ran for office, I became a member and I ran for office the same day because I knew from Occupy movement, which I was involved with. I remember you from Occupy Midwest. It's good to see you. So we need to have people register as Green Party members. It's super important. And that, by doing that, we then have the ability to connect people. It's so important that we create organization as rapidly as possible because we are facing some critical deadlines toward being organized. I know I've not hit the pavement as much as I need to. I'm dealing with unemployment right now. So I know other people dealing with unemployment too. So we all got to deal with what we got to deal with. But then, how do we move forward for the people as a whole? And that's what's important. Teamwork on that. So let's have Clyde wrap up. I just wanted to talk about the migreenparty.org stuff.
Thank you. Stephen, and then again, this is Stephen Boyle.
Stephen Boyle.
Okay, so
B-O-Y-L-E.
Green. Yep.
And you said that you were interested in being a candidate.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Well,
Do you want to speak now?
joining
Or?
the Green Party and moving forward with the principles of the Green Party.
And you're
I'm Dr. Sammy McCoy.
Dr. Sanic, it's good to meet you. Awesome.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to close up and we're going to bring on the speaker of the hour, okay? But again, we want you to tell your friends, your neighbors, we want young people. I'm looking at you, young man, as a candidate already. Yeah, we want you to run as a Green Party. You're okay? I mean, because, beautiful. Because I've done the same thing. I have a 27-year-old daughter who just graduated from U of M. and I've been on her to run as a Green too. So, but the purpose is, you know, many of us who are longtime Greens, we may not be here for 30 years, but you know, these young people are going to be here. You know, and we want to leave a better humanity for them to have to deal with. And to me, I feel like the Green Party, I don't want to say I think and I know the Green Party, principle-wise, represents the best humanity forward for all of us. And we as elders, we have to do our part to encourage and build that kind of society. So that's why we're here, and that's why I'm supporting this awesome lady right here, so we can get to that point, okay? So I'll close and say thank you again. My name is Clyde Shabazz. I'm a candidate for the 12th District against Debbie Dingle, who's a big, you know, supporter of but okay. The 6th District. Yes, I'm running for the 6th. Excuse me, let me clarify. I'm running for the 6th District against Debbie Dingle, okay? Because I'm definitely pro-Palestine, like Malcolm X was back in the 60s. We should have had a Palestine back in the 60s, but not before. So you're in the right place at the right time with the right people who love and support you. Let's rally around and support each other, okay? Thank you so much. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce the person of the hour, the U.S. presidential candidate and the future and next president of these United States of America, Dr. Jill Stein. Love you more.
Thank you so much, Clyde.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. We are in this incredible, historic moment right now. This is a completely unprecedented election where the American people really are on fire. They are done with being thrown under the bus by the parties of war and Wall Street. They are done having their jobs sent overseas, watching their income collapse, watching inflation escalate, not having the health care that we need. And half of all renters now are struggling just to keep a roof over their heads, are paying more than 30% of their income, which doesn't leave for their rent, which doesn't leave much for everything else. 60-some% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. It's not working, and yet half of our congressional budget is being spent on this endless war machine, which is engaging in catastrophic war after catastrophic war, making the world a more dangerous place, being a major contributor to the climate crisis, and destabilizing country after country. If you look at the wars going back to Vietnam, we killed some 3 or 4 million people in Vietnam, you know, and then suddenly we were gone, and you know, we stopped talking about whatever the excuse for that war was. The war in Afghanistan, you know, after 20 years and trillions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of lives lost, we said, oh well, goodbye to that, you know, back exactly where it was before. Iraq was the search for weapons of mass destruction, which of course did not exist. 1 million people were killed in that war as basically innocent bystanders caught in the crossfire. Even before that war began, there were some, what was it, 500,000 or 1 million children, you know, under age 5. It was just incredible. Yes, through the sanctions on Iraq, even before the actual war. Then we had, you know, Syria, we had Libya, which was again a total disaster that's costing us as the American people half the congressional budget now. If you add up the cost to individual families, this year alone is $12,000 on average per household for this endless war machine. Since the original post 9/11 wars began, it's $50,000 per household that we have spent in order to basically create failed states, mass refugee migrations, and continuing terrorist threats. Now in Palestine, we're basically seeing, you know, this needless and outrageous war that is resulting in a genocide, which is getting worse by the hour. The news by the day is absolutely intolerable. And what's so mind-boggling is that this is going on against the expressed wishes of the American people. Reuters polling back in November, shortly after this began, showed 68% of the Americans want an immediate ceasefire and a diplomatic solution. Look at the International Court of Justice, which ruled almost unanimously that this is a presumptive genocide right now, which is the biggest, most definitive genocide ruling that you can get until years after the fact, and it's long too late to do anything about it. You know, and the preliminary actions that were called for by the ICJ included taking whatever steps any country can take to stop this genocide. That's really where we should be right now. If you look at the uprisings on campuses right now, there they are being targeted effectively by a police state, where these very violent police forces are being called in to crack heads and commit all kinds of violence, in some cases together with Zionist mobs who are bringing the only violence that's taking place here. It's the violent police, often trained actually by the Israeli occupation forces. That's how these horrific techniques are being really spread across the country and broadly adopted, that have so militarized police in our very own communities. Add that together with this so-called 1033 program that distributes military equipment to our police. So you have community police with tanks and armored vehicles and drones. You know, it's just incredible that the war is coming home, which is what happens when you have a war economy and a war foreign policy. Our foreign policy, you know, is described by the Pentagon itself. This is our military aspect of that foreign policy, but it really describes what it is. The words are full spectrum dominance. It's the notion that the U.S. military will dominate all spaces, all potential areas of conflict, whether it's military or economic, whether it is the battlefield, whether it is the surface of the ocean or undersea, or the cyberspace or outer space. All of it, in all areas of the world, will be dominated by the U.S. according to declared Pentagon policy, which is absolutely nuts. We are no longer in the world that was dominated, as in after the Second World War, where the U.S. was the dominant power, mainly because all the other big economic powers were destroyed or nearly destroyed in the Second World War. So, you know, it was an open superhighway to to economic dominance, which we had for a long time, but we don't have anymore. And if you add up U.S. and NATO allies, we have been exceeded by China, Russia, India, the so-called BRICS, Brazil, South Africa, and then recently some of the Middle Eastern countries as well. They have exceeded our GDP. So it's like the engines have failed in this airplane, and we think that we're still flying, but actually the airplane has gone into a tailspin. And this overarching policy of endless war and militarism, together with oligarchy, and they support each other, they're kind of interconnected. This world of military domination, empire, and the rest of it that goes with that in terms of oligarchy and the dominance of the few. Just a word about that. It's 3 billionaires now who have as much wealth as half of the entire U.S. population, and the figures are similar globally. So this picture doesn't work. It doesn't work right here at home, and it doesn't work internationally. So it's not like we are, we are challenging the system, but we are kind of rescuing everybody. We are rescuing America, we are rescuing the world, and don't let them tell you that we are anything other than that, than, saving the day in what is otherwise a complete disaster here, where 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Half of people who rent cannot afford their rent. 87 million Americans do not have adequate health care. 100 million Americans are locked in healthcare debt. 44 million young people are locked in student debt. You know, all of this can be solved. Healthcare, for example, we could have a healthcare system that covers everyone, improved Medicare for all, fills in the gaps like for mental health care or chronic care or home care or dental care, you know, all these huge gaps that can bankrupt you. We can fill all that in and cover everyone and save $500 billion a year for ending this endless for corporate America, through the insurance companies and the hospital and the pharmaceutical, big pharmaceutical corporations. And then there are other, you know, huge subsidies for fossil fuels as well, which is another policy that we have calling for a Green New Deal for job creation that will solve our climate crisis, that will rapidly phase out fossil fuel. This is how we're different from the Democrats. Because the Democrats will talk about creating green energy, and they have done some around the margins. You know, they have created some solar and wind, and they've gone in for electric cars and all that, but the climate doesn't care one iota about that. That hasn't helped our climate one bit. It's only helping our climate if we phase out the fossil fuels. And Biden has increased the production of fossil fuels in the same way that Obama did. The two of them have set records and, you know, have basically betrayed their promises. But under Biden, there have been 22 liquid natural gas export facilities that have been approved. That is the equivalent of 440 new coal plants. That's what they're building while pretending to be friends of the climate. They are not friends of the climate. They are just friends of big donors. That's what they're doing. So we can solve these problems with a Green New Deal, with healthcare as a human right. We can call for, and we are calling for, in fact, nationwide rent control so that people aren't priced out of their living spaces. We can build more public housing, so-called social housing, which makes homes affordable and provides the homes that people need. There are solutions to all these problems. What I want to say right now is that this election is not only an opportunity to completely change the agenda, and if you look at the progressive agenda right now, where did it come from? It all came from Greens. Starting in who launched Medicare for all, but the rest of it did come from our 2012 campaign, whether you're talking reparations and the need to compensate, you know, debts unpaid to the people who built this nation, as well as you know, compensation for indigenous people, and to ensure that they have land back and other ways to compensate for what, you know, this land that was stolen from them. You know, on issue after issue, we can provide what we need, and we can change the agenda. And that's very important to recognize, that what the Democrats claim is the progressive agenda came from us, including, again, free public higher education and canceling student debt, which needs to happen. Biden has given that lip service for a long time. He's done a little bit of it, you know, a tiny percentage, but not enough to make a difference. People are living with debt. We have a debt-driven economy right now, and we can't, you know, we can't revive it without making real substantive changes. So what we are going to do is not only change the agenda, we are potentially going to win this race. And the last thing I want to say before we open this up is that there are 3 pro-genocide candidates who will be on the ballot across the country because they have deep pockets from the war profiteers and so on, so they can buy their way onto the ballot. That's for RFK. And for Trump and Biden, they're all grandfathered in because we have a voting system that stays the course. You know, it does not like or accept challengers. So there will be 3 of them, and they're all pro-genocide, pro-war, anti-worker campaigns. There are 3. They will be splitting the pro-war vote. There will be 1 anti-genocide campaign. We are currently on track to be on the ballot across the country. I'm going to talk about New York. So we will be the one alternative, which is anti-genocide and anti-war and pro-worker and pro-climate emergency. There's one of us and there's three of them. They are going to divide the pro-war, pro-genocide vote. We are going to unify the pro-climate, pro-student, pro-worker, anti-war, anti-genocide vote. So what happens when you divide a vote 4 ways? It is mathematically possible to win that election with as little as 26% of the vote. With 26% of the vote, we can win the majority of the Electoral College and even win the White House. So don't let anybody tell you that this is just a footnote, this is just window dressing, and that those guys are the real action. No, in fact, they are nothing but old news, you know.
Yes.
They are obsolete. They are this empire and oligarchy, which is basically destroying us. And the American people have had it. They have said as much. We know from polls that they are clamoring for what we are offering. The name of the game is breaking the sound barrier and the blackout that mainstream media is attempting to impose on us as Greens, as a grassroots campaign, as an anti-war, anti-genocide campaign. So it's all about what we do to break through. But remember, we can win it, and whether we win the office or we simply win the day by moving the needle, by getting farther than we have ever gotten before, we have fired a shot across the bow of the empire, for them to know that we the people are not going to sit here and take it. We are organizing, we are powerful, and we are going to work together until we have done the job. So just a quick word about what that fight is right now. They are pulling out all the stops in New York to stop us, because we already have 75% and more of the work done now to be on the ballot. We have to collect 1 million signatures. Thanks to the work of Green parties, including here in Michigan, we're already on the ballot in a lot of states, including the biggest, most difficult, and most expensive. So that means Texas, California, Florida, Arizona, and then many others that aren't quite, you know, in the headlines, but are also difficult. So we've already got that out of the way. New York is the big obstruction that they're counting on to try to stop us from getting on the ballot, because they're terrified. If we get on the ballot across the country, and it's New York, which is the big challenge. If we're on the ballot across the country, the mainstream media cannot block us out. They're going to have to cover us. Right now they're using the excuse that we're not on the ballot yet. So we have not been covered at all. Like not even by Democracy Now!, which gets a lot of Democratic Party funding. They don't like to, tip the apple cart. But, we will get to that soon. Right now we're very focused on getting on the ballot. But then the coverage will really start to expand, as it has already. And, today we just saw in Arizona, I think we're 5%, again, without having, this is like setting a record for us. And this is all by word of mouth. A lot of it is driven by the anti-genocide community, by students. A lot of it is on social media. So completely without any assistance from mainstream media. But they're going to be forced to cover us once we are on the ballot. If you have friends or colleagues in New York or nearby New York, just ask them to please get out and carry a petition. They can sign the petition, that's one person. But if they carry a petition, that is potentially hundreds. You can collect, in the course of a day, you can collect 100 signatures. And if we have a couple hundred people, and there are folks out right now doing this, we can fill in the gap. We're well on the way to the 45,000. This is like an outrageous requirement. They tripled it in order to try to block us. So this has never been done before, that a grassroots campaign has gotten on the ballot against this. 45,000 in 6 weeks, so it's really short, and it's a very high requirement. But we are pulling out all the stops. The deadline is in a week.
We'll be collecting through next Saturday.
Yep.
And then we need a few days to prepare it and we submit on the 28th.
So anyone who can get out with a petition can collect 100 signatures or even 50 signatures. Or if they have some time, they could collect 500 signatures. See, the Democrats have hired an army of lawyers. They are like shameless about this, and they admit it. They are that clueless that they don't understand that getting an army of lawyers to throw off the ballot when people are clamoring for it is absolutely outrageous. It's an assault on democracy. And they are that clueless that they just stated as a bold-faced fact that they've hired an army of corporate lawyers to throw the Democratic small d principled competition off the ballot. They will be trying to do that. So getting the 45,000 is not going to be enough. How much is enough, we don't know, but we're aiming for 90,000. Probably 60,000 will be okay. Maybe 50, 55.
90 would be better.
The more, the better. Yeah. So the bottom line is, if you know anyone who can get out to New York, all you have to do is be a registered voter somewhere, and you can carry the petition. In order to sign the petition, you've got to be a registered voter in New York. But anyone who's registered anywhere in adjacent states can come out and carry the petition. So we're just encouraging everyone who can to get out. If you can't get out, your contribution will help. The kind of the unexpected snafu this time was that RFK entered the race with very deep pockets from his billionaire contributors and his billionaire super PAC. So he could buy up the professional supporters. He could buy up the professional signature collectors. So they weren't there for us to hire, because he had already gone to them offering them outrageous compensation for working for him, because he's rolling in dough. He was able to buy them up. So at the last minute, we've had to try to get everyday, ordinary mortals to come out and petition. So that's why it's hanging in the balance. And hopefully we are going to make it, and with your help, we'll get closer. If you can't get out, tell your friends, and if you can contribute, all of our donations right now are going to New York to ensure that we're on the ballot in New York. New York is a huge shot across the bow of the empire. If we don't make it in New York, we're going to keep going, because if you're a 49-state campaign, that's pretty great as well. But we'll get better coverage by the mainstream media, and we'll just have a more powerful head of steam here if we're on in every campaign. Yeah, go ahead, Sue.
You're already registered as your write-in candidate already, right? So this basically is to get you on the ballot.
I would assume that that's the case, that would be our fallback, would be as a write-in New York. They make different rules in every state. The game is designed to make you feel overwhelmed by it. So I don't know the specific rules in New York, but most states, or at least many states, allow that.
And we're not going to have that conversation right now?
Yes.
No, it's about getting on the ballot. We're going to make it work. That's right. There's going to be a Dr. Stein candidacy and a Green Party, because remember, there's people running, just like Michigan Greens are running, and whereas the standard bearer of us here in Michigan, there's people running in the state of New York as candidates as well. So we're going to get those folks on the ballot, Dr. Stein.
I hope so.
We're going to make it work.
Well, yeah,
Someone had a genius idea that we should contact the street vendors and
So-
get all of them to come
So
out.
you all remember that street vendor who was Egyptian?
Yes,
And this guy that used to work for Bill Clinton in the State
Yes.
Department came in, and he was racist against
I
him. He
remember
told him how bad he is, that he's taken to the mukhabarat and all of this stuff. So the FBI came and arrested that guy, and I had So all these street vendors in New York, they are athletes. They are sympathetic to our cause. Each one of them sees 100, 200, 300 people a day. We should go to each one of them and
Great idea. That's awesome.
we need to have 200,000 people.
Easily.
Yes.
200,000 people
might
that
get
come from
100,000
different
signatures.
that go around and do.
Great idea.
I will go with it. I will go with it.
That is awesome.
Other comments or questions or things people want to address while we're in a large conversation?